1969. Logo class, the NER Class 66. History, built as the second member of the Class 66 for the NER, withdrawn in 1933 and preserved in a museum. Steamed again in the 2000s and worked on the North Yorkshire Moors Railway doing shunting and hauling trains. Sent to work on the company railway in 2047, converted into a Salvaged Loco by Bluebell, later got into an which resulted in him losing everything he once had. Abilities, none, as he got into an which all of his was used to repair. Name, local designation W, real name with. Allies, W, with the garbage engine. Built year, 1869. Local class, NER Class 66. History, built in 1869 as a replacement for an engine of the same name built by Kitson for the Great Exhibition in 1851. Originally built as a 222, rebuilt into a 422 in 1892, rebuilt again into a 224 in 1902. Withdrawn in 1933 and bought by Sir Topham Hatt in 1979. Retired doing garbage duties and now haul goods in passenger trains. Captured by Bluebell during his delivery night to the mainland, later converted to a Salvaged Loco. Like all Salvaged Locos, he is dangerous. Abilities, regenerations, interchangeable side tanks, buffers which include guns, rocket launchers, and other weapons. Name, local designation L, real name Levi. Allies, L, the cab for a diesel with a troublesome shock face. Built year, around 1956. Local class, BR Class 08. History, built around 1956 as one of BR's successful Class 08 diesel shunters. However, during his construction, there was an error which resulted his face built at the back. He is often teased because of his unusual face being on the back. Withdrawn in an unknown Dane, rescued and preserved at an unknown date. Continued doing his shunting duties, captured by Bluebell doing his shunting duties. Converted into a Salvaged Loco. Like all Salvaged Locos, he is dangerous. Abilities, regeneration, interchangeable side tanks, buffers which include guns, rocket launchers, and other weapons. Name, local designation H, real name Dane. Allies, 1020, the Blue Demon. Build date, unknown, presumably 1883. Local class, GER Class Y14, later reclassified as an LERJ15. History, Dane/1020 was a black mixed traffic tender engine built at Stanford Works. He worked on the Great Eastern Railway, sent to Soto to help out the railway until he was purchased a day later. Captured by Bluebell while pulling a midnight passenger train, converted into a Salvaged Loco. Like all other Salvaged Locos, he's dangerous. Unlike other Salvaged Locos, his name is H, which his actual name is Dane. Actually starts with the letter D. Abilities, regenerations, interchangeable side tanks, buffers which included guns, rocket launchers, and other weapons. Name, local designation T, real name Tobias. Allies, Mr. Wooden Box, Toby, Mr. Shed on Wheels. Built here, presumably 1913. Local class, the GER Class C53, later reclassified as an LNERJ70. History, presumably built in 1913. However, during his construction, he ended up having the same face as Toby and the same old number. Being the oldest, he is sometimes cruel, arrogant, and unappreciative. Withdrawn in 1951, he was identified for preservation and was restored to working order. In 2047, he was sent to work on the company railway, converted to a Salvaged Loco by Bluebell's slaved workmans. Like all other Salvaged Locos, he's dangerous. Abilities, regeneration, interchangeable side tanks, buffers which included guns, rocket launchers, and other weapons. Name, Local designation M2. Real name, Mabel. Allies, the vampire. Build date, 1952. Local class, BR Class 04. History, built in 1952 as one of the 4 BR Class 04s for the fitted with side skirting and cow catchers for use of the Ibispaint and upward tramway and on the Yarmouth Docks tramway system to replace the LNER J70 tram engines that worked there. She was one of the first of the class to be route drawn in 1967, preserved by the Mangabs Railway Museum, and the last 2 engines from the Ibispaint and upward tramway. Sent to the company railway as a shunter, converted into a salvage loco by Bluebell slaved workers. Like all salvage locos, she's dangerous. Abilities: regeneration, interchangeable sides, buffers which included guns, rocket launchers, and other weapons. Name: local designation S. Real name: Sabrina. Allies: the Blue Devil. Build year, 1896. Local class, Furnished Railway K2 class. History, built in 1896 as one of the first of the 6 batch built in 1896. She went into the 1923 grouping and continued a long service life until she became the last K2 in service on British Rail until she was withdrawn somewhere in the 1950s due to her age. She was eventually rescued by a railway enthusiast after hearing Sabrina's history and her long service life. She had a great life until she was sent to the company railway in 2046. She was then later converted to a salvage loco with the rest. Like all salvage locos, she's dangerous. Abilities: regenerations, interchangeable side tanks and tenders, buffers which include guns, rocket launchers, and other weapons. Name: local designation D2 and D3. Real name: Donald and Douglas. Allies: the twins, the Caledonian twins, the Scottish twins, the Devil twins. Build year, 1909. Local class, CRA12 class. History: Donald and Douglas are twin steam engines built in Scotland for the Caledonian Railway. They work hard pulling goods and freight trains across the Scottish mainland. They always work as a team. Years later, steam engines were being replaced by diesels. Only one engine was needed on Sodor, but they didn't want to be split up. To stay together, both came to Sodor, one engine invited, and one comes secretly. At first, the Fat Controller was not pleased, but after proving their worth, he decided to let them both stay, giving them the number 9 and 10. Years later, somewhere in 2013, Donald began to learn how to speak Malay from a foreign visitor and himself. Both, along with Doug, Emily, and Tipper, were sent to the Rail Sentience Lab to be tested with the new AI. However, the twins, along with Emily and Doug, were instead used for spare parts and were later put aside to be scrapped until Slave the 3 and now worked on the company railway. Later converted to a salvage loco after the massacre in the meeting by Bluebell using the slave workers. Like all salvage locos, the 2 were dangerous. Abilities: regeneration, interchangeable side tanks and tenders, buffers which included guns, rocket launchers, and other weapons. Name: local designation M3. Real name: Macy. Allies: the Blue Scottish Devil engine. Siblings: D2 and D3. Build year: 1909. Local class: CRA12 class. History: built in 1909 in Scotland for the Caledonian Railway. She worked along with Donald and Douglas. Years later, steam engines were being replaced by diesels, and like other steam engines, she was withdrawn from service on her 64th birthday on 31 August 1963. Instead of being scrapped, she was saved by the Scottish Locomotive Preservation Trust, and she was overhauled and restored at Cowlairs for ST Rollock ceased repairing steam engines sometime before. She now resides at the Strathspey Railway in Scotland. She continued her life as normal until she was sent to the company railway, where she reunites with Donald and Douglas. She carried her life as normal until she was controlled by Bluebell and massacred the meeting. At the massacre, she along with the others were converted into a salvage loco by Bluebell's slaved workers. She is one of the top-class salvage locos. Like all salvage locos, she is dangerous. Abilities: regenerations, interchangeable side tanks and tenders, buffers which included guns, rocket launchers, and other weapons. Name: Local designation E. Real name: Emily. Allies: E. Boss: Threat Sterling. Built year: 1894 or 1895. Local class: GNR Sterling class. History: designed by Patrick Sterling in 1870 with 8 feet 1 inch driving wheels and outside cylinders. Her classes were specifically built for high-speed express between London and New York. Later, GNR merged with other railways to form the London and Northeastern Railway, the LNER, in 1923, and then become part of British Railway, BR, in 1948. Years later, as new and faster engines were introduced, Emily's class were retired. Some were scrapped, while some managed to continue their service until the last one was withdrawn from service. Emily was put aside in a siding to be scrapped, but due to the cutter torch being damaged and beyond repair, she was left untouched. Years passed, some railway enthusiasts bought her, restored, and tested, showing that she could still be useful. On Sodo, the Fat Controller needed a new, strong, and reliable engine to help out on his railway, and Emily was chosen. She quickly proved herself and earned a new home. Years later, Emily was given her own number, 12. Years later, Emily along with Duck, the twins, and Tidfield were sent to Real Sentience Lab to be tested with the new AI. However, the twins, Duck, and Emily were instead used for spare parts and were later put aside to be scrapped, until saved the four and now worked on the company railway. Later converted to a salvage loco by Bluebell using the slave workers in the meeting. Like all salvage locos, she was dangerous. She is one of the top-class salvage locos. Abilities: regenerations, interchangeable side tanks and tenders, buffers which included guns, rocket launchers, and other weapons. Name: local designation D. Real name: Duck. Allies: Duck the Great Western, the useless salvage loco, box/square tanks. Build year: 1929. Class loco: GWR 5700. History: built in 1929 for the GWR, he was a pannier tank engine built for shunting and short trips. In 1936, he will meet a shy GWR 1400 named Olivia, who was being bullied by a bigger engine. Her Duck sprang into action, and the argument was settled. Duck would become Olivia's first friend and had since become her friend and very protective to her. In 1949, when the railway merged, he worked under BR. Duck continued working hard, but other engines didn't always like how proud he was doing the Great Western Way. As he often says, there are two ways of doing things, the Great Western Way or the wrong way. The Fat Controller needed a new reliable engine. He chose Duck because he was a hard-working and useful engine. Duck came to Soda and quickly proved himself, organizing the yards and helping other engines. Years later, Duck would have his own branch line, and years later, he would reunite with Olivia and had since run the ranch line together. In 2049, Duck along with Emily, the twins, and Tidfield was sent to Real Sentience Lab to be tested with the new AI. However, Duck, the twins, and Emily were instead used for spare parts and were later put aside to be scrapped until saved the four and now worked on the company railway. Later converted to a salvage loco by Bluebell using slaved workers in the meeting. Like all salvage locos, he's dangerous. Abilities: regeneration, interchangeable side tanks, buffers which include guns, rocket launchers, and other weapons. Name: local designation O. Real name: Olivia. Allies: O. Olivia the GWR, Ollie, the Great Western of Death. Build year, 1934. Logo class, GWR 1400. History, built in 1934 for the GWR. However, her life was sad. Every time she tried to make friends, the others just ignore, told her to leave, or blew steam at her. She was a perfect target for bigger engines due to her loneliness. One day, when a big engine was blaming her, a GWR 5700 engine named Doug came along, stood up for Olivia, and stopped the bullying. After this, Olivia and Doug became a strong friend, finally giving Olivia someone who cared. Doug would train Olivia how to be someone like him, pulling passenger trains and being a really useful engine. Years later, Doug was sent to Sodor. Doug said goodbye to Olivia as he left for Sodor, leaving Olivia sad again, but was happy for her friend. Olivia kept working for BR, still feeling lonely until she was finally withdrawn from service in the 1960s. Determined not to be scrapped, Olivia and her brakeman toad escaped from the scrapyard and headed for freedom to Sodor. However, during her escape, she ran out of coal and had no steam left, and was caught by the diesels in the night and was sent back to the scrapyard, waiting to be cut up. She lost hope on escaping until an engine named Douglas. After Olivia introduced herself and her brakeman, Douglas instantly knew who the two are and rescued the two and bring them to safety. Douglas tells the engines all about Olivia. Luckily, the flight controller knows about Olivia and decided to keep her on the railway. Douglas told Doug to go to Crowens Gate for a surprise where Doug and Olivia reunited together. After her repairs were done, she along with Toad now worked with Doug together on their new home. Her life carried on as normal before being sent to the company levy in 2047. One night, while delivering train, she discovered and she would then was the one who. Following this, she carried on as usual until she was converted into a Salvaged Loco by Bluebell, slaved worker from the meeting. However, her memories and personnel were kept, while the others had been reset or erased. Bluebell would then threaten Olivia to kill everyone. If not, Bluebell would kill the engine Ollie truly cared for. Like all Salvaged Loco, she is dangerous, but despite this, she is less dangerous. Abilities: regeneration, interchangeable side tanks, buffers which included guns, rocket launchers, and other weapons, and also